Hi everyone, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome to another Sketch Sunday video. This week's sketch comes to you from My Favorite Things and there's a very rough drawing of it. As always, the link to the post will be posted below in the more information section. So we're going to be using a bunch of products from My Favorite Things and some distress inks. So we're going to be using My Favorite Things Hybrid Razzleberry ink, the Distress ink in Picked Raspberry. We're also going to be using two other colors of distress ink, Hickory Smoke and Ground Espresso. We're going to be using the My Favorite Things die set called You're the Milk to My Cookies. We're going to be using the stamp set Cookie Crumbles. There's also a tag die from My Favorite Things, and you can see there those circle dies are from Sizzix, I believe. We're going to just be using the larger circle right now. I'll show you what we're going to be doing with the smaller one in a couple minutes. So I'm just lining up my dies on the magnetic platform and tearing the paper because, as always, I was not prepared with a pair of scissors handy. So I'm just putting everything on the magnetic platform so that I can run them through my Cuttlebug and cut them out. So we're going to be doing 3 cookies, and that big circle is actually going to be a plate. So I thought that I would use the smaller one to create kind of the middle of the plate so that it kind of, you know, the plates have the lips on the outside that go up. So I thought that I would try to do something like that and make it look more like a plate. Now, the one cookie that I cut out was the chocolate chip cookie. So it cuts out those little teeny tiny chips in the brown. So I'll show you what I did in a couple minutes to line it up perfectly. And I'm just taking the rest of the die cuts off of there and getting them lined up. So now we're going to do the part of the plate. So I'm taping down the circle in the middle so that it is evenly spaced on both sides. And now I'm going to be using a Cricut, like it's an embossing mat, I believe. So I'm turning it upside down. So instead of cutting, this is going to just emboss it. So I'm also going to put the B plate on top of it. The A plate's the thicker one. This is the one that you use for embossing folders. So I'm going to run it through twice just to make sure that it gets a pretty good score line on the middle of the plate. So once I take it off, I will show you guys what it looks like. And I found a couple of little chips that didn't come off of the board before. So that's the plate. I think it looks pretty good, I think. So now I also ran that through the Cuttlebug and I'm going to run it through the Cuttlebug to get the tag part of the card. And that's going to be the background for the plate to sit on. Thought it looked a little bit like a picnic mat, and I thought that it would go good with the colors that we had already chosen. So there's the tag. And that was a My Favorite Things from a My Favorite Things Stax tags die. So now I'm looking at putting all of the cookies together, and I realized I only cut out 2, so I went and cut out a 3rd one. Oh, now I'm taking the Picked Raspberry Distress ink with the mini ink blending tool and just going around the edges. Since this is a white core based paper, it will give it a little bit more of a finished look instead of showing the white. I'm also going around the edges of that pink icing so that it can have a little bit of dimension to it. Using distress ink on images really makes it stand out. So now we're going to be using the Ground Espresso for the sides of the cookies, again, just to give it that little bit of like a baked look, and it gives it just a little bit of depth and dimension when you do it with the distress ink. So we're going to go around the edges of all 3 cookies and do that. So that was the Ground Espresso. Usually I would use something like a tea dye, but this is one I already had out on my desk from another project. So first I thought that I wanted to do a smaller card. So I thought that that was a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but it wasn't. So then I realized it wasn't big enough, so we're doing a 5 by 7 card this time. Now I'm taking the Hickory Smoke Distress ink and doing the same thing around the sides of the edge, or the edges of the plate. So again, to give it a little bit of depth and dimension and make it stand out a little bit more. So there you go, you can see the plate. Now I'm kind of curling up the edges because again, a plate isn't flat. Most of them aren't flat. So you have kind of rounded edges on it. So just trying to see how it would look, and now I'm going back in with that same Picked Raspberry edge and going around that pink piece. Now that pink piece is 1/8 of an inch smaller than the 5 by 7 card base that I had. Now that's a pre-made 5 by 7 base card that I just used. It's one of the ones from like Michael's or AC Moore. So now I'm going to take my ATG and go around all the edges, and of course I made it almost all the way around and it ran out of tape. So I'm trying to cut that piece off, but I realized I don't have scissors, so I ran back and got my other ATG, and I'll eventually just go cut that piece off so that it's not sticking there. So now I'm just going to place it on the front of the card, so that's our card base, and it just has a nice pink, soft pink background. I'm going to use my ATG gun again to put tape on the back of the tag and put that on. And we're going to start to kind of assemble the card. Now the plate, same thing. It's a little bit tough to do round objects with the ATG, but you get used to it. So now this white piece was something that I cut out from when I initially started so that I could line up all of my chocolate chips on all of the cookies. So I just placed it over kind of like a mask, and I put dots through all of the holes so that I knew exactly where to line up the cookies. But I didn't line that white piece up very good. I lined it up to one side, so the chocolate chips are kind of more to the one side. You don't have to do this. You can put the chocolate chips wherever you would like, but I saw that in another video, and I just thought that it was a great idea, so I tried to do that. And these little chocolate chips are very, very difficult to get to stay. They're super, super tiny, but I think the cookie came out cute. Now I'm going to use my Zig 2A glue pen, which is what I used to attach the chocolate chips to that cookie, and just start assembling the pieces on the plate. I'm just trying to figure out how I want them. I didn't want them to look like mouse ears, so I was trying to make sure I did different levels of them, so they kind of overlap each other. I probably could have done a couple more cookies, but I just wanted to get this card done. This card is actually going to a little girl who has cancer. One of the foundations that I help out with things, I make cards for kids who are in need of birthday things. They wrote something up on their Facebook page. They're called Angels of God, and they were asking for cards for this little girl who has cancer. So I made this one for her. So this is I believe that's a Simon Says Stamp banner die that I decided that I was going to take the sentiment and break it up into 3 parts. So I cut the sentiment out of white cardstock, and then I mounted it onto my MISTI, and then just inked up certain words with using washi tape to mask things off. So it says, I think it says, "You're one tough cookie." I think that is the sentiment. Yeah, "You're one tough cookie." So I said, "You're one" is the first one, "tough" is the second word, and then "cookie" is the last word. I believe that's the way I inked it up. And then I went around the edges. I thought that it looked too plain. I kind of had folded it a little bit because I didn't like the way the banner looked just sitting there. So I kind of folded it back and forth so it had a little bit of dimension, like the middle part actually sticks up, and I'll show you in a minute what I mean. So I double stamped the first line. The second line I didn't get a chance to. It actually moves once you see here. The magnets weren't, it's hard to hold little pieces in place sometimes with the magnets, so I didn't do a very good job of that. So the second word did not get double stamped. The first and the third line did. Here you go, I'm masking this off again. So what I did was I went around the edges with the picked raspberry after I made the folds and put it on there, because I thought that it looked a little bit plain. So you'll see that in a minute once I'm done stamping the entire sentiment that says, "You're one tough cookie." I thought that was really cute for the girl Brooke, who is fighting cancer. I thought that it was just a very appropriate sentiment. So, and we see me cleaning off my MISTI because I get ink everywhere. I don't know how people stamp very neatly because I am not a neat stamper. As you can see, I'm getting ink all over the place. So I always have baby wipes. You see in the top right corner of my camera shot, I have a package of baby wipes. So there you go. You can kind of see there how it was different levels. Now I'm going back in with the picked raspberry to go around the edges just to make sure things stand out. And then once I place it on there, I realized that I need some pop dots. So these are the ones that are from like the dollar bin at Michael's. So I put them on the center, and then I will put it down onto my card, and that is the final product. So I think that it came out really, really cute. and I go back in, I think I go back in, yeah, and do a little bit more, and then I realize it gets stuck to the pop dots the second time that I do it. So gently pull it off there, then place it on the front of my card, and that is the final version of the card for this challenge. So here's the sketch, here's what my card looks like. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye!